The New Sports Central be giving you guys our Week 6 college football rankings for this 2024 college football season. 5 weeks in the books. We'll be looking forward to Week 6 here today with our updated top 25. So with that, let's get started with 1 through 7. Bama's number 1 this week. Beat Georgia 41-34. A wild finish there. And based on that winning so far, how the Tide have looked, they are very much deserving of number 1 this week. Georgia still, I really think, could win it all this season, but if that game proved anything this past week, it's that the field at the top between, you could say, 1 through 5, extremely close right now. Texas, number 2, beat Mississippi State 35-13, a 5-0 start to the season. I feel like you could put Texas at 1 this week as well. Alabama and Texas are kind of tied for that number 1 position. It's just because Alabama beat Georgia. I feel like you kind of have to put Alabama at number 1 this week, and then Tennessee at 3. Didn't play this past week, 4-0 on the season. Just based on how they've played so far this year, I feel like they are a top 3 team at this current point. And they won against Oklahoma there in their last game, and they've been so dominant so far. So Tennessee top 3 for me right now, that's for sure. Ohio State at 4. Ohio State, talent-wise, could be the best team in the country. They really haven't played anybody yet, though. They took care of Michigan State, no problem, 38-7. 4th in the country, 4-0. Once again, I mentioned it before, but if that Alabama-Georgia game proved anything, it's that really anybody could win it all this season. Georgia's at 5, as tough of a team, as experienced of a team as they are. Don't be surprised if Georgia still, they're still going to come around and very much be a threat when college football playoff time comes around. Oregon at 6. This team is really starting to heat up. Beat UCLA 34-13, 4-0 on the season. The Ducks, talent-wise as well, are up there. They are also a team that could really win it all, and you consider Penn State's defense, the way they played against Illinois, and a dominant win there against the Illini. Illinois is not a bad team this season. I honestly think that, the way that Illinois has played so far, Penn State to beat them like they did was really impressive. So, Penn State number 7 right now, 4-0 on the season, very much, I would say, a big threat in the college football playoff this season. Penn State's just been waiting for the 12-team playoff, and honestly, if the 12-team playoff existed before this year for the 2 really talented teams that Penn State's had the last couple of years, Penn State really is a contender for sure. 8-14, Miami beat Virginia Tech 38-34. That was as wild of a finish as you'll see there. The Hurricanes won. They're 5-0 on the season. That game did show that Miami is not perfect, and this is a team that can be beat for sure. So we'll see what the Hurricanes do down the road here, but as of right now, this is definitely the top team in the ACC. Mizzou at number 9 also didn't play this past week, 4-0 on the season. Tigers have as easy of a schedule as you can get in the SEC this season, so we'll see how Mizzou handles that as they head into the main part of their schedule. Ole Miss at number 10, kind of a shocking loss here. Lost to Kentucky 17-20. Kentucky proved there that, their close game against Georgia, the way they competed right up against the Bulldogs, that was not a fluke. And Kentucky's actually not a bad team this season, especially on defense. So for Ole Miss to lose that game, really disappointing. 4-1 on the season. But I would still say this team is a true threat despite a really disappointing performance there. And then Michigan at 11 beat Minnesota 27-24, a 4-1 start to the season. The only reason why Michigan is this high is because of that USC game. Otherwise, this team just has not been very impressive. But Wolverines, they've got a game against Washington this week. We'll see where this team stands. And they're still a very talented team. They just haven't played at a very high level yet. But USC on the other side beat Wisconsin 38-21. One loss being to Michigan. That's the one thing keeping USC from being the 8th or 9th team in the country right now. But I'm really impressed with USC. This team has a really high ceiling. Their defense has been much better. So we'll see if USC can stay consistent down the stretch here. Iowa State at 13 beat Houston 20-0. Their defense really showed up there in a 4-0 start for the Cyclones. Suddenly it seems like Iowa State is maybe, they're up there as the top team in the Big 12 this season. They were kind of considered a background team heading into the season, but Iowa State is clearly a really well-coached team, and this is a strong team this year. LSU beat South Alabama 42-10, 4-1 start to the season. And LSU is kind of a background team in the college football playoff picture right now, but I would say it looks like this team is only getting better right now. 15-21. Clemson beat Stanford 40-17, 3-1 start. Clemson's really starting to impress me as well. They had obviously the only thing that's overshadowing Clemson from being a big contender right now is that Georgia loss in week 1, where this team just fell apart in the second half. But since then, this offense is really coming around. It's just on the defense to see how dominant they can be there. And I mean, things are starting to click for Clemson, so keep an eye on this team for sure to rival Miami at the top of the ACC. Notre Dame at 16, beat Louisville 31-24, 4-1 start to the season. The Irish they have a very manageable schedule. So after beating the Cardinals there, Notre Dame, I would say, is very much still in the college football playoff picture as well. But thing is, for Notre Dame, you can't take another loss, I don't think, if this team wants to be in the college football playoff, especially with the way the schedule is. There are a couple of big games down the stretch here, but Notre Dame overall has got a pretty easy road to the college football playoff, it seems. Oklahoma at 17, beat Auburn 27-21, 4-1 on the season. Still hanging in there. I mean, things only get tougher here for the Sooners, though, so we're going to learn a lot about this team real quick. Utah at 18. This team without Cam Rising, I mean, this offense really struggled this past week against Arizona, and I mean, they need Cam Rising back. If this team can be healthy, I mean, they can definitely win the Big 12 this season, but based on what we saw this past week, I do definitely have concerns about Utah at this current point, moving them down 7 positions. Meanwhile, Arizona still very much, I would say, in the picture of being a contender in the Big 12. Their defense has honestly looked pretty good. The offense has been a bit disappointing so far. But against a tough Utah team, facing them on the road, pretty impressive win for Arizona there. BYU's at 19. Kind of your surprise team in the Big 12 so far, 5-0 on the season, beat Baylor 34-28. Keep an eye on the Cougars. This team is on the rise right now. Kansas State at 20, beat Oklahoma State 42-20. They obviously lost to BYU in ugly fashion before that Okie State win, but I would still say K-State is, you look at teams talent-wise in the Big 12, Kansas State could definitely win the conference this year, and it's just about avoiding those ugly games like they had against BYU a couple of weeks ago. Texas A&M at 21, beat Arkansas 21-17, 4-1 on the season, and Texas A&M kind of looming in the background right now, a talented team that's had a lot of close games so far, but a strong start overall for the Aggies. 22-25. Here's Indiana. This team has been the surprise team in the Big Ten so far. Beat Maryland 42-28. I feel like every conference has that one surprise team so far. You could say maybe Boston College in the ACC, Indiana in the Big Ten, BYU in the Big 12. But the Hoosiers so far, this is a strong offensive team, a really good start, 5-0. Suddenly, if this team can keep it going, they're looking like a fringe college football playoff contender, which I don't think anybody was expecting heading into the season. Louisville at 23. Not a bad loss to Notre Dame, but still moving them down 8 positions. I do think the Cardinals are a good team. That's just kind of a disappointing, tough loss there on the road. But the Cardinals 3-1. Still a strong team this season that could definitely win the ACC. Boise State at 24. Really impressed by this team against Washington State. I feel like Washington State's a pretty good team. I had them ranked a couple of weeks ago. So for Boise to come around, especially in the second half there in the fourth quarter, really impressive win there for the Broncos. And, UNLV and Boise State, definitely the 2 best group of 5 teams so far. So we'll see what happens down the road here in the Mountain West. Illinois at 25. Lost to Penn State 7-21. Still like Illinois a lot, though, despite that. They've had a really strong start to the season. So, the Illini, a strong defensive team. The offense has really come around as well. So, despite only scoring 7 last week. So, we'll see on Illinois. But they're kind of in the same boat as Indiana, 2 teams that were kind of in the background heading into 2024, but really impressive starts. First 5 out, UNLV at 26. Wanted to rank them this week, but it's pretty competitive. From 22 to honestly 30, where I've got Iowa right now. Arizona, second one out, Nebraska, Rutgers as well, and then dropped out Oklahoma State after their loss this past week. But with that, let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this top 25, your thoughts and what you'd change in the comments, and I appreciate you guys watching as always. My name's Evan, this is All Sports Central. Stay tuned for more. We'll catch you on the next one.